I'm here with Chief Economist Alia Moubayed. Alia, thanks so much for talking to us today. Could you tell us the big challenges that are facing the economy with this transition?
Sure. I think, all Middle Eastern economies face the challenges of adapting to the transformations required to move from a heavily dependent hydrocarbon economy to increasingly more productive and less dependent on rentier type of revenues. I think the challenges also emanate from the fact that many of these economies have very youthful populations and a high level of youth unemployment, and therefore there is a bigger need to expand the scope of private sector investment in non-hydrocarbon sectors to create jobs for these populations. The energy transition is a very uncertain basically environment. We are not sure of the speed at which it is imposing constraints on these countries. This is why we think there are at least two important focus areas that government and government policy, economic policy should be focused on. One is structural economic reforms in order to expand the size of the private sector, and second is fiscal sustainability, i.e. reshaping both the revenue and the expenditure side, downsizing government, reducing subsidies, improving non-oil revenues in order to ensure that the burden of the adjustment is done on an equal burden between the current generation and future generations.
So do you see the major funding for this transition coming from the private sector?
I think it has to be equally divided. I think the private sector has a major role in providing financing, but I think it is incumbent on the government to reduce the risk premia related in order to attract such funding at the lowest cost possible. And this is why fiscally sustainable economic policies are a must, particularly as the fiscal space in many of these countries is becoming narrower and narrower.
Alia, thank you ever so much for joining us this afternoon and giving our time.